Rogal Dorn, the Praetorian of Terra, the first Lord Commander of the Imperium, and the best Primarch. The coolest Primarch, my favorite. For those of you that clicked on and are immediately just going to leave a comment about how Perturabo is the best or whatever, stay tuned. Just wait a little bit. I'll actually go in depth. At the end of the video, I'm going to go into why I think he's the best Primarch and why I love him so much, why I consider him personally to be the best Primarch in 40k. Or you can just skip to the end, I guess. Like, I'm not your dad. I don't care what you do. But before we get into talking about Rogal Dorn, I got a quick word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Dungeon Hunter 6. In the latest release of this long appreciated franchise, you can experience the pretty crazy action-packed hack and slash gameplay. You have collectible heroes, lots of cool bosses, insane build variety, tons of just really cool stuff, all in this completely free-to-play package. You can click my link, download it for free, or scan this QR code if you're on PC. And this game, pretty cool, with a really interesting, unique mechanic. Now, unlike other ARPGs, when you fight a boss in Dungeon Hunter 6, the boss is actually yours now. You can summon them to help, use them for cool combo skills, ride them around like mounts, or if you get real far in the endgame, you can actually transform into them to do even cooler skills. Using these alongside the pretty ridiculous number of classes that are constantly being updated, there's like a near limitless number of build stuff you can do. And all this is available to you completely for free if you click that link in the description or just scan the QR code if you're on PC. Just to spice things up for you here, if you download now using my code, you can actually get a $50 value special starter pack, all for free, which actually comes with some cool stuff like 10 summoning scrolls, an SSR Lieutenant Demonic Wolf, and an accessory pack. Even more, just to add more value onto this, you can also enter your account to enter the lucky spin here to get a bunch of really cool actual real life swag. An iPhone 15, an Apple Watch, a PlayStation 5, and many more. It all starts on October 15th, so download it now and get your chance to win. And thank you so much, Dungeon Hunter 6, for sponsoring this video, but let's get back to talking about Rogal Dorn. So after being ejected by the Chaos Gods and launched into space, Rogal Dorn landed on the planet of Inwit, a place that, it's pretty shit, I'm not gonna lie. This is a absolutely frigid little hellhole that orbits a dying star, so it's just covered in ice. The only way to really live on Inwit is in these little nomadic groups that travel around the world and also live in these little ice cities and just periodically move. As well, you're separated in clans and families that all work against each other in some way. There are a lot of rivalries between these families. They don't get along the greatest, but also this works for Inwit because to live on this little ice ball, you gotta be tough. You gotta have the willpower to actually pull through, and you need to be self-reliant because you falling behind means your entire clan can fall behind as well. And it was here that Rogal Dorn landed, where he landed in a clan, and specifically under the guide of the family, the House of Dorn, where his grandfather, Grandpappy Dorn, gave him his name of Rogal and praised him pretty well. Every single thing that Rogal Dorn encapsulates of strength, willpower, very bulwark in both emotion, mental, and physical, all came from his grandfather. But as well, Inwit actually was pretty thriving before the actual collapse of humanity during the Dark Age, where it was a pretty big shipbuilding station. They had a lot of stuff, in rival to actually some of the shipbuilding areas of the Sol system itself. One of their constructions is known as the Phalanx, which is a giant just space station that's now a full ship. The Phalanx was something Rogal Dorn worked on and got operational because this thing's massive. It can house an entire Space Marine Legion, which is what he would later do. Which, lucky for him, the rightful owner of the Phalanx, the Emperor, because anything that humanity touches is his, according to him, rediscovered Rogal Dorn and found him with a working Phalanx, and the entire Inwit system, colonized. But really quick, the Emperor brought him into the fold and officially gave him the Phalanx for him to use, and rightfully so. This thing is nuts and served the Imperial Fists so well, which that is in fact the Space Marine Legion he got. And this Legion specializing in a lot of things, but largely his favorite one, defense, as he is really good at building very big defensive bulwarks standing strong. So if you give the Imperial Fists a little bit of time and a little bit of land, they're gonna hold it. And once serving the Emperor, and the Emperor made up for all of those lost birthdays and Christmases with the Phalanx gift, he served the Emperor so loyally. Like, he is probably one of the most loyal Primarchs to serve the Emperor. He is a soldier through and through. You give Dorn an order, he will utterly complete it. No complaints, no issues. And this isn't just like the other Primarchs, where they secretly harbor these grudges towards it. No, he legitimately just doesn't care. It's his lot, he will do it, it's his job. Perturabo, on one hand, his biggest rival, and very similar in a lot of skill sets, Perturabo is the type to also take any job he's given, but he'll quietly seethe about it the entire time. Or say, for example, you have someone like Fulgrim. Fulgrim, who has a lot of issues going on, self-esteem wise. I don't blame him. He needs to live up to his own ideals of perfection and the heraldry of the Emperor himself. Pretty big shoes to fill. Fulgrim also has this nasty little habit of deeming any other person getting an award or accolade as a personal insult towards himself and his men. Dorn does not care. Does not care about medals. He does the job. To that point, he's just well adjusted, which is hard to say for his 17 other brothers. And as well, I want to talk about that little rivalry. His rivalry with Perturabo is really something. They don't agree a lot. They really get on each other's nerves. But it really came to a head with the fact that they both have very similar skill sets. While they're both really good at defensive, construction, they're also both very good at the siege. They have a lot of overlap in their skill sets, to the point where, honestly, if you were gonna ask anybody to build the Imperial Palace, these would be the two to ask. The Emperor asked Dorn, and that really, really bothered Perturabo. And this was made worse because Fulgrim asked one little question to Dorn when all the Primarchs were hanging out. Do you think Perturabo, the master of the siege, could break down your palace, Dorn? And Dorn, just very quickly, very honestly, because this man does not lie, said, no, just very matter-of-factly. This royally pissed Perturabo off. It utterly destroyed any chance of them getting along, to be honest. And I'll also say here, in Dorn's video, this is partially a if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device meme, but I fully and unironically believe the reason Dorn got the job over Perturabo is because Dorn would have made it look nice. Perturabo is a man who will do the job you give him, but he'll grumble the entire time. He also is a master of any of these crafts, but he doesn't actually do any artistic flair with any of it. He builds it as a master, not as an artisan. Dorn is going to do it, make it look nice, make it look pretty, make it strong. Is it going to be as strong as Perturabo? Probably not. But on one hand, you have Dorn making you a palace. On the other hand, you have Perturabo making you an indestructible metal box. One of those sounds better than the other. And also, you can rest assured that Dorn isn't going to complain the entire time. But like I've been mentioning, Dorn got the job to build the Imperial Palace, which means him and his men all got sent back to Terra to work on this project, taking them off the front lines, which, fortuitously, they got a little held up, at least Dorn and his main group, because it took them a little longer than it would have to get to Terra with a bunch of warp storms happening. It's very lucky this happened because someone came out of those warp storms, Nathaniel Garrow, piloting the Eisenstein, with news that Horus had gone traitor. Now, it is here I want to get in a little bit to Dorn's personality. He is reduced a lot to just stoic, kind of grumpy, no sense of humor, that type of guy. No, all business, no jokes, that kind of character. He's not. He's a lot more depth to him. He has a lot of things he just values, and it really pisses him off when you don't adhere to that. Because that's the thing. This man is viewed as this bastion of stoicism, but he has a couple triggers that he will explode on you. And also, just for the record, he does make jokes. He cracks jokes. He's the kind of guy that very monotone says a pretty funny line and then kind of quietly just smiles to himself. One of those dudes where you're like, that was really funny. Did he mean that as a joke? Okay, yeah, he did. One of those guys. But some of the things that get him a little mad, perceived weakness or cowardice in any way. This happened with Sigismund, because Sigismund requested he not go out and lead a crusade because he got a vision and a prophecy that he would die. This is cowardice, and that completely shattered his trust in Sigismund, his first captain, which I'm not going to get into. Go watch my Sigismund video if you want to hear about that. And then the second one, any form of questioning loyalty or disobedience or treason. This was a big issue when Nathaniel Garrow said, yeah, Dorn, your favorite brother turned traitor. He's fighting against the Emperor. This was to a point where Dorn was really, really close to killing Garrow, until eventually they were able to persuade him and he brought the news back to the Emperor, which immediately got him in full-blown deal with the crisis mode, where he is the Praetorian of Terra. He held the fucking line. In the Sol system, he built up those defenses and did a lot of goofy shit during his job. Oh my god. Aside from sending Imperial Fists to go deal with a lot of shit going on, like stuff on Mars and Pluto, he, say for example, fought in the Battle of Pluto, killing Alpharius or Omegon. He killed one of them. Who knows which? I don't think they know at this point. He killed a greater demon, the greater demon Samus, who is also, by the way, if you've read Horus Rising, he's that demon. He's the one that kind of got the ball rolling on the heresy stuff. He fucked up the traitor forces as they were actually invading Terra. Without him, if Dorn wasn't around, say for example in a wild wacky world, Dorn was the first to die instead of Ferrus Manus, I don't think the Imperium would hold at all. I don't think humanity would have lived, just in the same aspect of Dorn carried the Loyalists in the same breath that Perturabo carried the heresy. But I will say Perturabo had a heavier weight on his shoulders, since most of his allies, if not all of them, were horrifically unhinged and emotionally unbalanced and demonic. Dorn had to deal with a lot, by the way. The Siege of Terra lasted 3 whole months. Just want to put that in perspective. For those 3 months, he did not sleep or rest at all. Always on his feet, always working, always defending. This fucked him up, actually. This did some damage because eventually, near the end, it started to wear on him, where eventually he would lead an assault on the Vengeful Spirit, the same one where the Emperor and Sanguinius would go up to go fight Horus, where, because of this, he got caught in a warp illusion conjured by Khorne, to where on the Vengeful Spirit, he appears in a desert, watching his men die around him, being taken by the sand, as all of his memories fade away. And all he can remember is the name Khorne, as Khorne is trying to get him in there. Yet another slight Angron I want to mention, because this is 2 Primarchs that Khorne wants over Angron. First he wants Sanguinius' soul, now he's picking Dorn. Poor fucking Angron. But he eventually broke out of this because this man is willpower incarnate. He broke out of the illusion and got to Horus and the Emperor a little too late. The Emperor was mortally wounded, Horus was dead, and there his brothers were. 2 of his dead brothers and his father dying. To where he was actually the one who entombed the Emperor on the Golden Throne. And then that takes us to the stuff happening after the heresy, which I've gotten to in a lot of other videos, but just a good recap. Dorn really was not a fan of a proposed plan from Guilliman, where Guilliman wanted to separate all the legions into chapters with his Codex Astartes. Dorn thought this was dumb and spit in the face of everything his father wanted. Guilliman called him a traitor, almost caused an entire civil war. Eventually, through a funny little event that I'm not mentioning, I don't want to bring up the Iron Cage incident. Maybe I want to enjoy Dorn in his video. You can watch my Perturabo video where I talk about the definitely calculated maneuver of invading the Iron Cage, getting most of your men killed and everyone else more horribly wounded, needing to be saved by the Ultramarines. Maybe I don't want to talk about it in my Dorn video. I love this man. He doesn't need it. But eventually he was convinced and split his own legion into chapters. To where then, he died. Maybe. So Dorn is MIA. So a lot of people believe he's dead. People in universe, I've heard people out of game talk about that they believe Dorn is dead and never coming back to the setting. I don't fucking buy it. So Dorn was leading some more assault on the traitor forces. That's kind of what you do after the heresy. those like last stragglers, to where he was ambushed while he was setting up an assault. Completely caught off guard by a lot of fucking enemies, like a fuck ton. To where they held out, but eventually Dorn got overrun. And the only part of Dorn that was recovered was his hand, which is now entombed in like a stasis thing, and other Imperial Fists etch their names into his hand. You know, it's a thing. Imperial Fists, it's his fist. It's pretty important. Here's why I don't buy it. Because no body, no death. I don't believe it. In fiction, if someone gets disintegrated or they fall off a cliff and you don't see them, they're alive. Like, I don't see a body. If he had a tomb and he was buried, I'd buy it. Like Sanguinius, dead. Ferrus Manus, dead. I saw those bodies. They were written down. We know what happened to them. But also, out of game, I do not believe the Games Workshop would force another Primarch to be permadeads, because that is a future model sale they can make. Why in the world would they give up getting more money out of 40k fans? And yeah, that's Dorn. Lastly, I do want to get into that bit of the fact that I think Dorn is the best Primarch. I think he is genuinely the embodiment of what makes a Primarch and what they were intended to be. The Primarchs are generals. They are proxies for the Emperor to lead things in his stead. Dorn is a soldier through and through. He does all of it, no question. He does it to the best of his ability, and by God, his ability cap, pretty high. So it's that fact. The fact that Dorn, and Guilliman too, I can give it to Guilliman. I don't like Heresy Guilliman at all, but I think compared to him and Dorn, they're like the embodiments of what they're meant to be. They did their job. Guilliman leads more in the idea of the statesman, the actual leader of a like Imperium or an empire. Dorn is a fantastic general. On that hand, I don't think he would have been a better War Master. I kind of agree with Dorn, by the way, because Dorn completely endorsed Horus as selection of War Master, like believing, yeah, he's the best one for the job. Of course he is. Have you seen how good he is at what he does? Yeah, and also he completely understood the bond between Horus and the Emperor is pretty thick. That is like an actual kind of familial relationship they have. Of course, that's going to take precedent over some of the others. And then other than that, I guess for a more personal reason, Dorn is my first entry point into 40k, because I kind of really early got into Warhammer through If the Emperor Had a Text-Speech Device, and my favorite character in that series is Rogal Dorn. I think their version of him is fucking hysterical. And through him, I got into Warhammer. I started reading the stuff with Dorn. I started reading the stuff about the Imperial Fists and kind of branched off from there. So to that aspect, Dorn and the Imperial Fists are kind of held very special in my heart, in the fact that it's like, that's my entry point. That's how I got into this whole goofy setting. That's why I'm standing here telling you about this big banana man. I feel like all of you have a person like that. I feel like a lot of people who talk about their favorite Primarch in my comments, I wouldn't be surprised if like more than half of you, one of the big reasons is because they were your first that you read about. So yeah, with that, that's my reason. I think Dorn is the best Primarch. But other than that, if you like this, like, comment, subscribe, that stuff, join my membership, and see ya.